Welcome to the Solopreneur Podcast. I'm your host, Josh Munoz. And in today's episode, we're going to go over the reality of starting a business. Because I feel like a lot of solo entrepreneurs miss the mark when it comes to understand what it really takes to start a business. It's so easy as us when we're getting into business to see someone on top of a mountain, right? Maybe it's their 5th year in business. Maybe it's not even their first business. Maybe it's their second or third or fourth business, but you never seen before that. And what tends to happen is we tend to forget that in order to climb the mountain, you have to do it step at a time, right? We can't just jump and then we land on top of the mountain, right? And it's super important to remember this in business because we think that when things come up in business, that it's not part of the journey, right? So here are a few things that you're going to go through as a solo entrepreneur in business. And the first one is the feeling of being overwhelmed. It's going to be part of the process where at one point you're going to feel very overwhelmed. And you're going to be overwhelmed for a few reasons. Number one, you may not know what direction to take, right? You may be stuck in a place where there may be so many options and ways you can go, and you're not sure which way that is for you. And because of that, you get stuck into what I call paralysis by analysis, right? Where we're just so much in our head trying to figure it out that we actually don't do anything, right? And I speak about this because that was me at one point, right, in business, is that I was in a place where it's so overwhelming and the decisions to make that you end up not making any decisions, right? So that's the first reason why you may feel overwhelmed. The second reason you may feel overwhelmed is that you may have lots to do. And let me be very clear with you. As a business owner, you're always going to have a to-do list. There's always going to be something you need to work on because that is life, right? That's like saying, I'm tired of breathing, so let me stop breathing. No, sir, you got to keep breathing, right? So it's something that you got to keep doing. So there's always going to be a to-do list. There's going to be things that you need to work on your business at all times. So starting out in business, my personal experience is that I was so overwhelmed because I felt like I had to get everything done first in order to grow or succeed in my business. And that's just a simple misconception. So I'm just here to remind you, right? And that's why this episode is going to be short and sweet, but it's a friendly reminder that you can always come back to, because we think that when we feel overwhelmed because we're not sure what to do, or we have too many things to do on our plate and we don't know how we're going to get it all done, we think that that's not part of the equation. However, starting as a solo entrepreneur, that is part of the math. The math is you start something new, not sure how to do it, overwhelmed by not only the decisions you need to make, but overwhelmed by the amount of things you need to get done, equals you learn how to figure it out. And that's the reality of business. And we think it's not part of the equation. And the more that we stay in our heads thinking that it's not part of the equation, or that because I'm feeling this way, I am a failure, or because I'm feeling this way, this is my reason on why I should quit or why I should stop. And let me tell you something. This is one of the biggest reasons why most solo entrepreneurs are not in business in the first 5 years, is because of they can't grasp the concept that being overwhelmed is part of the equation, right? So it's super important to remember and to constantly remind yourself that when you're having these feelings, that's perfectly normal. To say that you'll never have these feelings is naive, and I don't recommend it, because these feelings actually never go away. You then learn how to minimize how long you feel that way. But at every stage of the business, it's going to get a little more difficult, right? So it's like, all right, I'm starting off. How do I get my first client? Boom. Well, how do I get my fifth client, my 10th client? How do I maintain 10 clients? How do I manage my taxes? How do I market my business now because I need more customers? How do I understand the economy and how to shift with the economy, and how do I provide value so I become economy bulletproof, right? There's always going to be levels no matter what. You just get better at minimizing that feeling of overwhelm, and you get used to the feeling, right? And it's just like I equate everything to martial arts, right? And it's like just like martial arts, you don't ever stop getting a sparring partner to throw punches at you. You just learn how to avoid the punches, and you get better. So then you don't get hit as much. The name of the game is don't get hit as much and hit the other person more. The same happens in business, right? You're gonna always have that. I would say like your inner opponent of like these obstacles and these feelings of overwhelm and feeling scared. That's always going to be part of the equation, right? And if you're not feeling that, you should probably get something checked up here, because it's very human of us to feel that because it's new, right? If you never scaled a mountain before, your first time doing it, you're going to have a rude awakening because it's going to be difficult. And then guess what? When you're on that mountain and you see another mountain you want to climb, the same feelings happen. It's like, oh shoot, this mountain is a little more steep. It's steeper than the other mountain I did. However, I went up a mountain, so I understand the concept, but this one may be a little more challenging. That's going to be the constant flow of business, right? And I found if you're able to manage your inner emotions, you're able to understand that all of life is ebb and flow, right? It's up and it's down. It's up and it's down. It's like in a heartbeat. It's like we all vibrate, right? And a vibration has waves. So it's like business is the same way. However, if we stay focused and grounded in the fact that this is part of the equation, what we do is instead of going up and down like this, we tend to go up and down, but we're going at a constant increase, right? So when you're able to stay grounded in the fact that it's part of the process, that's when you learn how to embrace it, right? It's like, all right, how do I embrace the fact that I'm feeling overwhelmed? Shit, I was feeling overwhelmed yesterday, right? It's like, I got so many things to do. I got a family to provide for. I got all these things I want to get done. And the biggest reminder is that you eat an elephant one bite at a time, right? It's going to be nearly impossible for you to start something and all of a sudden you're equipped and you're really good at it. That's not how it works, right? Same with martial arts and karate. As a white belt, I didn't even know how to bow properly, right? And it's like, I honestly didn't know how to tie my belt. It took me days of practicing to learn how to tie my own belt. And sometimes I'll still do it right. And we expect for some weird reason when we get into entrepreneurship, when we get into business, and to own our own business, we sometimes forget that principle, and it doesn't change. And I feel like it applies to all areas of life. It's important to remember that. So being overwhelmed is part of the equation. The next thing is you're going to be sometimes, I know I did an episode on fear versus faith. Sometimes fear is going to keep creeping up. It's the same thing with fear. It's like it's minimizing how long you're in it. But we're human, and it's naturally going to come up, and learning how to stay grounded and focused in what you're doing is going to be the biggest help. And a few ways you could do that is constantly be pouring into yourself, right? Because your cup's going to be emptied because that's just part of life, right? And especially business. Your cup's going to be emptied, and it's important for us to constantly be pouring into ourselves, whether that's mentally, emotionally, spiritually, physically. I recommend all above, right? The more you pour into yourself, the more it reflects in your business, because your business is a reflection of you. So if you're feeling overwhelmed, not sure what to do, take a deep breath and keep going, because you're on the way. And when I have these feelings, I always play these mind tricks. I always have these mind metaphors. For me, I think the biggest tool that we can use in our lifetime is the tool of perspective, right? I think the tool of perspective is one of the most powerful tools you can use. And it's what's allowed me to be able to not only grow a business, to maintain a business, but to start multiple businesses, right? And now for me to start a business, the challenges and what I was dealing with, I go back and I reflect. I'm like, wow, that was truly just me versus me. It wasn't really my ability to deliver in business. It was really me mentally that I was having challenges. And that's the reality of business. So I think that utilizing the tool of perspective, that when you're feeling this, like, I saw Josh's podcast, episode 4, where he reminded me the reality of business, that I'm going to feel this way. Perfectly normal. In fact, this is good. This is good because allow that feeling of overwhelm and allow you to feel that feeling of fear and allow yourself to keep moving forward. Because what you're going to do is you're going to develop the muscle, right? A muscle, it takes repetition and repetition and repetition. And the more repetition you get from feeling overwhelmed to saying, you know what, I'm going to still take a step forward. And sometimes it's just one step forward. Like last night, personally, when I was feeling overwhelmed, I said, this is a lot, right? It's like, there's so much things I could do. And my journal is a little bit messier, but last night, it was the only thing on my journal, which was like, I'm working on finalizing my offer, all the other stuff I added today. But I wrote it down and I was like, you know what? I'm so overwhelmed now. I can't finish it all. I'm not meant to finish it all. Let me just focus on this one thing. And focusing on one thing at a time will allow you to stay focused on your path, right? So this is why I highly recommend, if you don't have a journal or if you don't have some type of tool that you're using online, I highly recommend you either get a journal or you utilize tools like Notion, or for me, I utilize Notion and Airtable, and I still write a lot on my journal, right? I use all three because it allows me to stay focused on, all right, so I know I have a year goal, I know I have 5-year goals or even 90-day goals, but if I don't have the steps and what I'm going to do in each step, when I'm feeling overwhelmed, it's going to pull me back to a place where I'm just not going to do anything because I don't know what to do. So this is just your friendly reminder that keep going and keep going and keep going and keep going, right? One bite, one bite, one bite. That's how you succeed in business. Just keep going. And that feeling overwhelmed, when you're feeling that, go, yes, I am on my way. And I'm practicing, utilizing my muscles of overcoming that feeling. And you don't want to disregard that feeling because we're human. We're here to feel, right? It's part of our experience. But it's important for us to take that feeling, allow it to sit, and then still move forward. That's going to be a part of it. And for me, I've been learning that feeling with just every part of my life, right? Being a father, you learn that really quick because everything's overwhelming because it's new. No one gives me a manual on how to raise a baby. However, there's books, there's people. We used a lot of TikTok that had educational videos on what to do and how to parent and what to do with a newborn baby, right? And the great thing about where we're at in life is that there's so many resources that you have access to. And I highly recommend you reaching out, not only when it comes to books or videos, but you actually working with a business coach or consultant. And of course, I'm very biased because I am a business consultant, and this is what I help solar entrepreneurs do, is help them build clarity. However, I stepped into this business because my business consultants and all the coaches that I've hired allowed me to have that clarity. And like I said, I was still feeling overwhelmed, but knowing I had clarity in my business and kind of knowing what steps to take made the biggest difference. So this episode today is just short and sweet, just a reminder that if you're feeling overwhelmed, if you're feeling scared, not sure what to do, just keep taking a step forward. Keep going forward. This gives you the opportunity to become resourceful, right? Because it's not that we lack resources, it's that we lack resourcefulness. We lack the ability to find in the answer. And I think that's really cool. I think that's really cool about life is that we have the ability to try to find the answers, whether that's within, right? How do I find happiness? What's joy in my life? Or whether it's how do I grow my business so I can walk away from my job? Or how do I grow my business so it can provide a specific lifestyle that I would love to bring into my life? How can I, eat the right foods and work out the right way to look a certain way and feel good or feel healthy or feel fit, right? It's all areas of life. That same principle mentality can be applied in all areas of your life. So don't be naive to the fact that you won't feel that in started or growing your business. Because like I said, each stage is going to have that type of feeling. So this is just your friendly reminder for today that it's part of the equation to feel overwhelmed. It's part of the equation to feel impatient, that you want the next step now. Very normal. And take that feeling and this opportunity to then go and say, where can I find the answers that I'm lacking? Whether that's hiring me, whether that's hiring another coach, whether that's hiring a specific coach that you need help with, right? Whether that's in your personal or your fitness life, right? How do I hire a personal trainer to help me what to do? If you walk into a gym and never worked out before, it's going to feel overwhelming. Same with business. If you never ran a business before and this is your first business you're running, you're going to have those feelings. And like I said, it's part of the equation and it's a-okay. So please just keep walking forward, keep taking a step at a time, and eventually you're going to look down and you're going to be at the top of the mountain. It's been real. Make sure you guys like, subscribe, and just a friendly reminder, be the light.